Okay, so as I told you, I'm going to kind of walk you through some as I'm making different meads. So I finished up my Bochet. If you guys remember from my previous video, the Bochet is basically just a toasted honey, kind of a toasted honey wine. It kind of caramelizes the honey and gives you that toasted marshmallow kind of, sometimes a toffee flavor to it. Anyway, so I finally finished up my Bochet. And a little story about that. So as you can see in my meadery here, the Bochet, the way I start that out is, first I set the burner down and I get the burner the way I want it, and then I light it up, get the flames exactly how I need them to be. And then after that, I put in my windshield or my heat shield. Now that really all it is just a trash can, a metal trash can that's cut out in different spots. But what that does two things. One, it creates like a wind buffer so that the wind doesn't blow out or blow away the heat or blow out my flames. But also it forces the heat up. So then after I put the trash can down, I put my tank in there or my pot really, that I start filling up with honey. And as I'm filling up with honey, I kind of measure it all out and see how much honey I need to put in there. And then I start it up. Now, as you're noticing with the honey, is that as it starts boiling, it gets really frothy. And sometimes it can be, if you're ever doing a Bochet, you need to make sure that you're giving yourself at least maybe 4 times the volume in your pot, because your honey is really going to grow that high. The foaming that happens with the honey, all those proteins and everything that's inside that honey is going to foam a lot, and it's going to be almost 4 times the amount, depending on how hot and how strong of a boil you've got. Now, here's a bit of a story here. So I'm in my meadery here, as you can see, and I didn't want to do it outside. It was raining outside, so I didn't want to do it outside. So I'm here in the meadery, and I just bring it up to a nice little boil, as I normally would. Well, as you can imagine, it does get a little bit warm in here after a little bit. It wasn't a huge boil or anything. It's not like I had flames everywhere. I'm not like frying a turkey or anything, but it did get a little warm in here. So before I go on with the story, I need you to know about 3 pieces of context to understand this story. The first context is, hey, I'm boiling honey. You already got that, right? So a lot of that honey smell and that boiling is going to go up into the air, okay? Context number 2. I had to open up the garage door to, kind of open up and kind of let out some of this hot, warm air and bring in some of that nice, cool air. Context number 3, and probably the most important, is that we have a couple of beehives about 700 feet that way. Now, you're kind of getting ahead of the story here before I say it. Yes, as I opened up the garage door, within about 20 minutes or so, I had quite a few honeybees flying around in my meadery. Not something you want when you're storing a ton of honey. Now, I am fairly clean. I don't have any honey. When I spill honey on the ground, I clean it up really well. I don't have any food or anything. All my honey in buckets and pots are all closed up. So it's not like they could find anything, but they were kind of annoying and irritating as I'm trying to boil all this honey. So, long story short, I got some, for anybody that has that, you get a little bit of honey and you put it outside and you kind of, you give them a honey pot, a little cybersecurity joke there. You give them a honey pot out there you want them to go to that honey and not here. And then nearing the end of the day, as all bees do, they all go back to their home. So I had to wait until dusk happens, all the bees are out, and then I was able to close it and finish up my wine. So a little funny story there that, hey, when you're boiling honey, make sure you don't have a lot of bees around. So anyway, as of tonight, I am taking that honey, I'm filling it up with water, putting it in my fermenter, and just like you saw in my previous video, I'm going to what's called pitching the yeast, or in a scientific, not a scientific term, but I guess the appropriate term for a winemaker is you're going to inoculate it. So you inoculate the must, it's called must, whenever you have your juices to make wine, it's called must. You put your yeast in the must, and yeah, then you have wine a few weeks later. Anyway, so that's it. I just wanted to kind of share that story and kind of explain to you how I made this Bochet. So take care, and we'll see you guys later.